Hey everyone, Meet Kevin here. Welcome back to another episode of the Meet Kevin Show, the Meet Kevin podcast. Today we are talking to the co-founder of eXp Real Estate or Realty. This has been a stock that has been on fire, and as a real estate agent, I've been admiring this company for years. This company is exploding. I'm so honored to have Brian here with us. I'm going to bring Brian on, and I want to hear everything about this company. Brian, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I'm super excited.
Well, thanks for having me on, Kevin. Obviously, I'm a big fan, and I know we have some mutual friends in common, and I know they're all just loyal listeners. So when Jesse reached out and said you need to do Kevin's show, I was like, I'm all in, brother.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. So tell me, how do you explain eXp Realty to somebody who doesn't understand? Like maybe they're probably, a lot of people aren't going to be a real estate agent watching this. Why do they care about eXp? I mean, obviously there are going to be stock investors listening to this, and there'll be agents listening to this. But what is eXp? Like, how do you explain this to somebody that you meet at a bar? It's like, hey, this is what I do. How do you tell people?
Yeah, great question, right? I mean, obviously, I've been answering that question for a few years now, and sometimes I say it's like asking somebody, what can an iPad do for you, right? Well, hey, you got 2 years for me to go through everything. In a nutshell, eXp has reinvented the real estate brokerage model by getting rid of redundant overhead, getting rid of bricks and mortar infrastructure, streamlining the back end systems, leveraging technology to be more efficient and less expensive. And then because we're less expensive internally and as a company, we can now give agents back more of their hard-earned money, right? So what we did was we added 2 additional income streams. So if you think about your average real estate agents out there selling houses, I call that sort of transactional income or linear income or sales income or whatever you want to call it. But it's basically you at the center of the wheel just, selling houses, right? I mean, if you don't sell houses or you don't help buyers or sellers, you don't get paid. And so what we did was, through doing nothing more than you're already doing, which is selling houses and interacting with real estate agents, we've now added 2 additional revenue streams to your family income. And they come in the form of stock ownership and passive income. And so I consider those wealth income, wealth, building tools. So you've got your transactional income, that's sort of the engine that fuels the business, right? But through some of our mechanisms, we've got 5 or 6 stock awards that you can earn. All of them are based in production. So, you get stock when you do your first deal, you get stock when you cap, you get stock when you bring somebody in when they do their first deal. And then we've got some icon awards for really top level, top 2% of our producers, so they can actually get their entire cap back as stock every year. And so just the stock alone is ridiculous. I mean, even our mutual friend, Jesse, he probably won't mind me sharing this, but Jesse came over as a full-time a real estate agent about maybe 2.5 years ago, and he left a pretty lucrative 6-figure IT medical IT job, and he goes, Brian, do you think I'll be a good real estate agent? I'm like, come on, dude. He did about $6 million in his off hours, right? And so I said, yeah, go for it, man. Rip the Band-Aid off, burn the boats, let's go. And in about 2 years, he was Icon agent. And then I asked him the other day, I said, Jesse, how much stock do you have? And he is now a millionaire because of eXp. And just from really,
wow, yes.
3 years.
That is super. Oh, absolutely. That is so exciting. So I want to unpackage this, because that was such a great outline. I really appreciate that. So for somebody who's watching this, you are basically a real estate brokerage where real estate agents can hang their license. And so you get your real estate license. It's like, cool, I got to work somewhere. I could pick Keller Williams or Coldwell or Remax or eXp Realty. Why eXp? I mean, don't people want to go to an office? You said no brick and mortar. I mean, like, how's only online going to work?
Yeah, it's another great question, obviously. And, obviously you're very good at what you do, right? So, I like to say we're not anti-office space as a company. We're not anti-office space. We just don't pay for it first. So if you think of companies like Uber or Airbnb, for example, right? They have they have a model where they don't go out and buy a fleet of cars and then sublease them to taxi drivers. Airbnb doesn't go out and build a bunch of vacation properties and then lease them to rent, vacationers. They just partnered with car owners directly. They partnered with vacation property owners directly. And so we do a similar situation. So we got out of the office subleasing business, right? If you think about all these big box real estate companies, they're really in part of their business model is to buy, secure, build, or lease office space and then sublease it to real estate professionals. Well, we just got out of that business and we partnered with Regus, who's the world's #1 Class A office provider, 3,000 locations, 120 countries. I mean, there's a Regus on every corner in every major city. And so because of that partnership, we could now offer office space solutions without us having to carry the costs.
So it's almost kind of like what you're saying is Remax was almost in this like McDonald's style business where it's like, oh yeah, we'll give you a brand and we'll basically rent you this property that we own, like a desk or an office or whatever. And EXP is
like, rent. And so because that maneuver, and then obviously, okay, well, where do agents go to get training, education, support, collaboration? Well, that's when we brought in the cloud office piece. So the cloud office is our sort of our interface with the brokerage support staff, the education team, our inter-agent, water cooler, just chit chat collaboration environment. But I don't have to drive down to an office. I don't have to put gas in the car. I don't have to look for parking and have somebody cough on me and, have to stand out line in the bathroom in the hallway. I just put on a headset, click a link, and I can be in my office at the speed of light. And I can be literally physically, I can be anywhere in the world. So I could be sitting outside of a listing. I could be, on a beach in Mexico. I could be up in a cabin in Sedona. I could be on a cruise ship in the Mediterranean, and I could still be running my team, running my meetings, taking classes, dealing with my brokers. And I mean, it's literally like, and if you think about what is real estate a 9-to-5 desk job? I mean, you've got a license.
It's 24, man.
7, and it's also not, if you're just sitting in an office all day, how much money are you going to make, right? Probably not a lot. Yeah. You'd be better off going out and knocking doors, sitting in Starbucks with a sign on the back of your computer that says, free real estate advice, ask me a question. You'd probably get more leads generated doing that than sitting in some cubicle in some dusty strip mall in some godforsaken parking lot somewhere.
I mean, it almost sounds like y'all were made for COVID to happen because I feel like COVID destroyed the offices.
Yeah, I mean, I would say obviously the pandemic, and it's obviously it's a lot of trials and tribulations, and my heart goes out to anyone that's suffering. We've had family and friends that have dealt with a lot of this, and it's certainly been an issue. But I would say it's absolutely accelerated the social proof of the use of a cloud office. I'll even say even up until COVID, and we're talking 30-something thousand agents when COVID came down. They still looked at the office like it was a little bit of a gimmick, and then when COVID came and the shutdown and no one could actually go into physical offices anymore, now we became legitimate. So I'd say it literally accelerated the use of cloud officing and remote working by 10, 15 years.
I believe that because I almost feel like there were a lot of sellers and buyers who before COVID felt that you had to meet at the corporate office before, and COVID almost made the Zoom meeting much more normal, or let's just meet at the property. Why meet at an office? So you think 10 to 15 years is what COVID really accelerated EXPI, huh? Or EXP?
I think so. I mean, who knows, right? I mean, it could have been other things that could have jumped in there and made it happen. But I just think that, I mean, we were very addicted. I think of office space as kind of like the little blanket that Linus used to carry around, like the little safety blanket, right? Like a lot of agents liked the idea of having an office, but they didn't really use it that much. And the top producers never were in there. I was a very busy agent, even from very, very, very early on. When Glenn Sanford hired me to be his team leader at the Big Red company, we were so busy. I never went into the office.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now showing
Your car
houses,
becomes
listings, right?
it's like your car becomes your office because you're so busy driving around, right?
We're mobile professionals. Absolutely. I mean, even back in the day, I remember some of the better agents would have mobile printers in their car. They had those early, iPads or whatever, the ThinkPads or whatever they had, they were already using their car and trying to. So I used to say, you should have your office go wherever you go. It should be kind of like OnStar for real estate.
Oh, I love that. You would love to see my laptop stand in my car, though. That's right along the lines. That's awesome. So, what do you say to people, who wonder, like, okay, well, why? I mean, like, can I join Remax and also just be an online agent? Like, why wouldn't I pick another brokerage? And somebody watching, obviously, as a stock investor, is going to probably think the same question, like, what's to stop what's the other one that popped up, Real Brokerage or whatever, the other online real estate brokerage, or Compass? What's to stop this competition from just killing y'all?
Sure. Well, first of all, it's hard to run parallel models, right? It's hard to be a bricks and mortar driven and also have a parallel virtual. That's difficult. It's going to be very cost inefficient. Secondly, we add the income streams. The stock, being a publicly traded company, is a total game changer. And the revenue share. I mean, the revenue share, if you think about it, Glenn was a top agent. I was a top agent. The first wave of leaders we brought in were all agents. So this is really an agent-centric company. We knew the pains of traditional real estate. And even if you take this, take the technology out, take everything else out, even those early years, one of the first things Glenn said to me when he hired me was, Brian, every real estate agent should start a personal brand and call themselves the CEO of that brand. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm on your team. I'm part of Keller. Like, how do I have a brand? I thought Keller Williams was my brand. And he's like, no, you're the brand and you need to call yourself the CEO. And your vibration levels are going to elevate. I mean, I was like, what is this guy talking about? My vibration levels, that's an interesting thing. But he was right. Ultimately what he was saying was, Glenn has like this amazing power of manifesting. He's always talked about the power of manifesting, and it's NLP and it's Napoleon Hill and Dale Carnegie, and but he was all into that mind space very, very early on. Even kind of a funny little historical note, even when Glenn was just kind of one of the first expansion rainmakers in the history of real estate, and he was still at another brokerage, and his Twitter handle was CEO Glenn.
Love it. Yeah. It's you own it, right?
You become what you call yourself, right? So if you're constantly telling yourself, I'm a CEO, think like a CEO. So we've sort of set up the entire business for us to sort of be our own brokerages. It's basically like businesses inside of businesses inside of business. So I get the best of both worlds. I can literally grow an organization. I can scale up limitlessly. I get to participate in the revenue share like I'm an owner. I get to own a piece of the stock like I'm an owner. But I don't have to review contracts. I don't have a ton of money in infrastructure and overhead. I don't have to invest heavily. And so what we've literally done, I mean, if you think about it, for 100 years, the real estate industry really had two classes. You had your owner class and you had your member class, and the members serve the owner's needs. And, when the owners wanted to make more money, they could open up more offices. They could add more agents, right? Cash out some of their stock or their shares or whatever. When an agent was struggling, what did they tell us to do?
Go knock on more doors and hold an open house.
Kevin, you're not working hard enough, buddy. Get out there and work harder. So, I'm driving off in my Ferrari. Got to take the kids on a cruise, but you need to work harder, Kevin. So we got sick of that. Glenn would say at some point every top producer gets sick of paying somebody else's, building somebody else's asset, right? So at some point every top producer gets sick of building somebody else's asset. And so that's kind of was the sort of the original concept, is how could we create sort of an even playing field? And so now you could get your license today. You could join EXP tomorrow. You could bring in one person, and you got stock, you're scaling up. You've got residual, right? You're participating in the revenue. You've got ownership. And so those tools were exclusively held in the hands of the owner class for 100 years. And now literally Glenn has reformed real estate and brought the tools of ownership to the average agent.
Wow, I like that phrase. The owner class is really everyone. Everyone has the owner class now.
We're all owners now, right?
Yeah. What tell me though, what does it mean though then? Like, I mean, if everything's virtual, and I want to get back to this, the owner class thing too, but I see a question here in the chat. Somebody's asking, hey, but how am I gonna have a mentor? I like having a mentor. Like, what do you say to people who have those sorts of questions?
We have a pretty amazing mentor program. So our mentor program is it's almost like match.com at this point. So we've got mentors in every state. So for example, let's say I brought you in, Kevin, you're in California, I'm in Arizona. We're good friends. I say, Kevin, I really want you to come over to EXP, throw your license in. You're going to go into the, California office or whatever. We're actually going to find, let's say you're a brand new agent. We require anyone who's brand new to real estate or done less than, I think, 2 deals in the last 12 months that they need to have a mentor. And so we're all about production, right? I mean, we have all kinds of productivity mechanisms and productivity coaches, and our training calendar is next to none. And so, but the mentor piece has been a very important piece because of that very reason, right? We understand that people still want to work with someone local. They still need to be shown how to open a lockbox and write a contract. And so we have all that, right? So you would be paired with, you'd get a chance to interview, maybe look at a couple different profiles, and then, find the right mentor for you. And now you're off to the races.
Got it. That makes sense. Oh, that's fascinating. And so this is somebody who maybe has multiple mentees or whatever, but basically this is something that's part of the fees you pay. It's not like extra, right?
Well, so two ways to answer that question. Number one, it's an additional revenue stream for the mentors, right? So there are people who like to teach, and maybe they aren't so, into doing the attraction stuff, and maybe they're slowing down their sales business, but they really love to help new agents. And so we have a mechanism where now they can go pick up, like you said, 4 or 5 mentees a month, and they'll actually get a percentage of the transaction. So I think it's like, 10 or 20% of their first 2 or 3 transactions. So, the program's changed a little bit over the years. So don't write that down, anybody. But if you're interested, it's all online. You can certainly Google the EXP mentor program and find some information on that.
So what you're saying is, like, if I'm my own broker. So if I were working at EXP and I don't know, can I sign up 1,000 mentees and do a private YouTube video with them and help, or like, and then make extra income?
There's definitely a certification process now, and it's a very robust, program, and there's all kinds of amazing people that are kind of helping build the program out. And, there is some, commitment to each mentee. So certainly, I don't know about 1,000, but, you could probably, but, you literally have to, there's a checklist of things, you got to go out and show them how to open up a lockbox, how to write a contract, how to do a listing presentation. So, I mean, really the basics, the bare bones of real estate, we want to make sure that every agent understands, the business.
Okay, so now I want to go back to this layering you mentioned. Tell me a little bit about this. What happens if, so I put your link here on screen. You have a link. It's your name, Brian, .eXp Realty.careers here. What happens if somebody joins this? Is there a benefit to them? Is there a benefit to you? And let us understand that a little bit, because again, there are going to be a lot of people watching this who don't understand the business model, but who want to invest in the company. Not that we're, here to pitch the stock, but
Sure.
We got a variety of people listening who don't understand what the company does. So that's just the basics. Tell me about that.
Sure. I mean, listen, again, just like any brokerage, and we're just like any brokerage. I mean, we have everything every other brokerage have, and then some. So for example, the revenue share, right? In a typical situation, you might have a couple friends who want to come to, XYZ brokerage and come work with you. And you might have brought them in, but if you can't barely do deals for yourself, or you're struggling to make ends meet, you're not going to be able to provide for another agent, right? So in the old world, I call it, you really didn't have the opportunity to bring people into your business or partner with them. Maybe you could start a team and provide leads and some additional infrastructure, but that was cost intensive, and you better be producing in order to support that. What's cool about EXP is I can just refer you to the company. So in other words, I'm sponsoring you. I'm introducing the company to you. You join EXP. You're an independent agent just like me. You're not on my team. You're not in, but you're not in my office necessarily. You could be anywhere in the country, and now in the 9 countries that we're in, right? and you can effectively join EXP. And now, because you're in my downline or my revenue share organization, I will get a little mini referral every time you close a deal. And it doesn't just stop with you. Anyone you bring in, they bring in, they bring in, they bring in, they bring in. And so you get this sort of organic growth, right? And I'm confident, like when we started EXP, because I used to do everything. I used to recruit, sell, train, educate, take the late night calls, pay their bills, hold their hand, whatever I need, I did everything. I was the beginning and the end of their, whole situation. And you can only get so many agents, you can only scale up so big when you're kind of doing everything for everybody. There's only so much of us to go around. And so I remember when Glenn said, we're going to start this thing and we're going to create this amazing machine. I said, Glenn, I have to know if I take an agent and I put them into the system, they're going to come out the other end, a lean, mean fighting machine, and I may never even talk to them. He's like, Brian, that's what we're going to build. So that's the cool part about this is I'm confident that anyone I introduce to EXP, when they come to this company, they're going to get the best training, the best tools, the best support system, the best collaboration, and the two best income streams in the business on top of their sales.
So, and that's what's almost very unique, because if I go work at Remax, I get my commission when I sell, but I'm not getting stock and I'm not getting this revenue share. Now, on the revenue share, what do you say to people? Because this is guaranteed comes up all the time, I'm sure, is what do you say to people who say, hey, this layering you're talking about, it's starting to sound like a pyramid. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a misnomer, right? I mean, even the term pyramid or Ponzi or pyramid scheme, I mean, there really isn't something called a pyramid scheme. It was a Ponzi scheme, and a Ponzi scheme was taking new money to pay old money investors, right? So you had to constantly bring in new money to pay out the old money. There was no product. There was no, real value in that. So that's illegal, right? A Ponzi scheme is illegal. Pyramids, well, everything's a pyramid. I mean, if you think about the structure of an organization, you've got the CEO at the top, you've got the C-suite level, you got the managers, and then the employees, right? So that's a pyramid. But we're not an NLM, right? Because in the eyes of the government, you have to have a real estate license, right? So we're not out selling. Now, let's say we are, or let's say we have similar, because there are all kinds of different passive income opportunities out there. Some are network marketing, some are direct sales, some are royalties and licensing and whatever, but they don't all come in the same shape and sizes. So when I'm vetting passive income opportunities, the most important things I look at are what is the price point of the product and how many people are already doing it. And then what am I getting a piece of? I mean, the most important question might be, what is the residual from, right? Is it a sign-up fee? Is it a $50 box of candles? Or is it a $500,000 house? And am I getting a profit or am I getting a gross, right? Because if I'm getting a piece of the gross, it's going to be much more than a piece of the profit. So there are other companies that have been doing passive income, but they did profit share. And that's the bottom smallest number, if it's a number at all. But they were so heavy loaded with bricks and mortar and redundant overhead and staffing that they couldn't pay gross commission revenue share. So when we got rid of all that, we took that idea of profit and we flipped it. And now we pay off the gross number, which is a much bigger number. And you know what it's going to be every time. There's no manipulation. I'm not saying anybody's manipulating anything, but just the nature of a balance sheet is, gross at the top, take out your expenses, and you got the P&L at the bottom. So who knows, right? Were they good office managers? I don't know. What were they doing? I had no transparency. All I know is I never got very much in profit share. That's all I know.
Right. So you're comparing this to profit sharing, that this is better than profit sharing. But so I guess let me understand this. If let's say I started a business, okay, and we're gonna sell clappers,
Okay.
Boom. We're going to sell clappers.
Yes.
But I'm going to charge you $500 to join my clapper business. And then you join, and then you go recruit someone else for $500 to join my clapper business. The business almost becomes not selling the clappers, but it becomes recruiting people, right?
Sure.
You're saying EXP is different because EXP is actually providing a service. You're a real estate agent who's selling a house. The majority of your income is selling the houses because you're at a brokerage, but you happen to also, get some additional revenue from other people's sales who you invite to the company. So while it might have some similarities to this clapper business when we're really not selling clappers, there's actually a real business behind EXPI. I keep saying EXPI because that's the ticker symbol. But that's sort of what differentiates it from, a company that, is really just trying to get people to sign up. So they're paying out the next people in the level with those sign up fees, basically, huh?
Sure. I mean, there's two parts to that answer. One is we're not a network marketing company because you all have to be licensed real estate agents. And in other words, it's a tiny referral. Let's say, Kevin, I had a buyer for you in California, and I said, Kevin, I got a referral. You go, great, Brian, send me your buyer. I'll give you 25% of my commission. Okay. I have to have a real estate license to be able to legally collect the commission. Well, let's say I refer you to EXP and you do a deal. I'm going to get a referral. It's just smaller, but it's not just one deal. It's every deal you do for the rest of your career at EXP up until you cap that year. So I'm getting 3.5% off your gross sales, right? Your gross commission. So whatever your total commission is up until you cap. So let's use some real numbers. If you come in and you do 3 million in sales in the next year, I'm going to make about $2,800. But the beauty of it is, unlike a referral that actually comes out of your pocket, this just comes out of the company side. So the company is going to get less and less and less. Now, think about other brokerages, right? Every brokerage is in the recruiting business. The difference is they're doing it at the corporate level or the owner level, and they're doing it all themselves. We are doing it organically, right? We have zero paid recruiters. We do zero marketing for recruiting.
Wow.
It's all organic. It's all word of mouth because it's so friggin' lucrative. Why wouldn't I do it, right? And so now you don't have to do it. You could certainly just come over and sell houses, earn the stock, and build wealth that way. But you'd be really silly not to add a few people a year. I mean, literally, if you just added a few people a year, friends and family, brothers, sisters, mothers, cousins, your neighbor, the cross sale, the Uber driver that also has his real estate license, right? The podcaster that also has his real estate license. If you just, bring in a few people a year, guess what? They're going to bring in a few people a year. They're going to bring in a few people a year. And that's where we get this exponential growth factor.
I see. Yeah, that is interesting because, there are a lot of people who join the real estate industry every year and they don't know where to go. And so, they try different brokerages, and that something that seems interesting with EXPI is just putting on my real estate hat is, and I keep saying EXPI. I'm sorry. It's the ticker symbol and it's ingrained in my head. I know it's EXP. But I mean, so, when I was regularly selling, I'd have, $15 to $20 million sales years. Those are my average volumes. So I would basically pay up to, $15,000 to EXP. Then I'd be capped roughly. We're not going to quote here because I'm sure things vary.
Sure.
And whoever brought me in would get a percentage of the fee that I paid to the company. And if somebody else brought them in, they would get a percentage. So, I mean, it kind of seems like that 15K is getting spread out to a bunch of different people, like down the line.
Yeah.
But I guess, so even though that portion, I mean, it's the shape of a triangle, right? Even though that portion is the shape of the triangle, I guess the difference is I am still a broker making the bulk of my income from real estate commissions by actually selling real estate. This is just supposed to be a supplemental source of income that if I bring people in, I get a little slice of theirs. I get stocks if I bring people in. Is that what you're saying? That really it's different from the MLMs because the goal isn't only to sit around and be a recruiter. Maybe it's to do, like, there is a real product behind the business.
Absolutely. And there are some mechanisms, like, I don't want to get too into the weeds, but we have some productivity clauses. So I can't just run out and hire or rent a bunch of straw agents and put them in my front line and pay them all to move their license over and go, okay, great. Now I got 500 people in my front line, pay me my money. Because if somebody's not selling houses, nobody's getting paid. So it's incumbent on me as a organizational growth leader to want to keep my agents productive, and so, we even have some stuff where, every level that you earn more money on, you have to have a certain amount of people personally active in your front line. Well, active means they have to sell houses. So if you go inactive, you can still be with EXP, but then you drop off from my front line, and then I might leave a lot of money on the table. So I've, even as a growth leader now, I'm thousands of agents in my organization, multiple countries. we do leads and we do training and we do marketing on top of what EXP does. So I'm constantly trying to add more and more value as a sort of an influencer growth leader inside of my organization, because I want everyone to be, fully on selling house. I say run the full playbook. The full playbook is close deals and close people who close deals.
I like that. Okay. So, I mean, don't you think it's possible though that EXP could potentially suffer in that a lot of people hear this description and they can't help but have the Herbalife feeling, or I guess I shouldn't mention any other companies, so I'll pretend I didn't say that, but since it's live, oh well. Isn't there a possibility that some people are going to go, just, I don't know, not for me. Is that a risk for EXP's growth?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, a lot of that's born out of ignorance. I think, here's my philosophy on this, because I've been doing this for a while, and I don't think most people are suffering from lack of opportunity, right? You hear the phrase, opportunity only knocks once or whatever, doesn't knock twice. I think opportunity never stops knocking. And I think at some point we get numb to it and we start to tune it out. And we start to feel like we've heard it all, we've seen it all, been there, done that. And the more successful you get, and certainly the more successful real estate agents, those are sometimes the hardest ones to get through to even put their eyes on this model. Their filters are set to rebuff. They don't want to hear it. They've seen it all. They know it. And I don't know why in the real estate industry, the recruiting word gets such a bad word, because in every other industry to be recruited is kind of cool, right? Like, I just got recruited to come over to IBM, and I just got recruited by the Chicago Bears, so I'm going to go. But in real estate, it's like, oh, don't recruit me, like hands off. And so, I don't know. I think some of that's just kind of like, brainwashing of the owner class, sort of, telling their agents, hey, you don't want to be recruited by anybody, right? But I do think that, once you get through their filter system and the ones that are open to opportunity, if you just show them the numbers. So I made a shirt last year that said hashtag it's just math. For example, I'll run you through kind of a quick numbers experiment here. I'll pull out my calculator. Let's just take like a $15 million a year producer. Okay. So I'm going to put in a $15 million a year producer, and you guys can do this at home. And then you can take so 15 million, and I'm going to do.
We'll do it together if you don't mind. Just one second.
So I'm going to take average commission. I'm going to say 2.5%, right? So the gross commission on a $15 million a year producer, somewhere in the neighborhood of $375K for that year. All right. So now we have one of the 5 programs, Kevin, is you can take 5% of your gross commission, and you get to invest it. It gets automatically taken out of every closing. It goes into your Morgan Stanley ShareWorks tracking system. It's fully transparent. You see it. You bought it. You own it. It's not restricted stock. It's not stock options. It's real shares. You own it. Wow. You bought it. And you get a discount on it. So you get a 10% discount, right? So I'm going to take that. Wow. I'm going to take 5% of that 375 number. So that's how much money you would have invested. So do times 0.05. Okay, so that's how much money you would have invested, but now you got to add the 10% up markup. So add another 1875 to the 1,875, right? So add that back. So 875. So now you probably invested all in about 2625. All right, great. So you're right there with me. So now, listen, this is a little bit of a swag, but we can take some averages here. So if you want to pull up the last year of the stock price, I think our low was 6, our high was 160. Throw me a number. What do you think the average stock price over the last year was? Let's use your number.
45.
All right, so divide 20 grand by 45. That's how many shares you would have bought. And then what did we close at yesterday? 160. So times 160, right? So 73K. Take out that first investment of, what was it? 18. So take out that 18,750. It was a $54,000 upside on just your stock purchase from just that one program alone. So had you have closed that 15 million at any other brokerage, you wouldn't have had that extra 54,000 in stock upside. Now, if you would have sold those deals earlier in the year, double that number, right? It was probably like $9-10 a share, right? So now, but I use 15 for a reason, because it gets worse. So we have another program called the Icon Agent Program. That's like if you do about 15 million a year or 20 deals after cap, so you can get it through volume or units, you get your cap back. So if you're an Icon agent, you get your $16,000 cap back as stock. So I'm going to divide that by 45 times 160. So that's another $56,000 in just this last year. So what if the stock keeps going up and up and up? Like, what happens to these numbers? They keep going up, right?
Wow.
So
really, I mean, you guys are.
Go ahead.
You're really incentivizing people to not only grow their income, but also build their wealth at the same time, because you're giving people stock back. But doesn't that dilute your other shareholders?
No, because all that stock's already been set aside and it's already baked into the cake. I mean, the stock's public. A lot of times dilution is more about private shares. But I'm not a stockbroker, guys. So, consult the experts, right? Let me just say, nothing I say is official company business. I am not an insider, even though I was the co-founder. I'm officially retired from corporate, and I'm just out here guessing, just like everybody else. But to cap that conversation off, so if you would have sold that 15 million at any other brokerage in America, okay, you're not getting that 100K back in just those 2 stock awards. Plus, you get stock when you do your first deal, stock when you cap, and you get stock for everybody you sign up. And by the way, we didn't even talk about the revenue share. So the other wealth building arm of the equation, right? So just the stock alone. Now, let me give you a really crazy comment. So in 2015 was the first year we had the program, right? In 2015, you would have had to do 8 million. So if there's anybody out there that did about 8 or 10 million in 2015, you might want to close your ears, because had you done that at EXP, you would have gotten $16,000 worth of stock divided by 30 cents a share. It would have been 53,000 shares of stock. So whatever 53,000 shares of stock times 160 is, it's 8.4 million. Well, had you have been an Icon agent in 2015, you'd be sitting on millions and millions and millions. And imagine if you would have been Icon in 2016, Icon in 2017, Icon in 2018. I mean, there's people. So Glenn's purpose, I went out to dinner with Glenn a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about personal brands and what your purposes are. And I said, what's your purpose, Glenn? And he goes, my purpose is to create a company that creates more millionaires than any other company in history.
Wow. Well, the way the stock's been running, he might pull that off.
How many did Facebook made? I don't know.
Yeah. Wow. Geez. So, I mean, this is really interesting. So, I mean, not just from I mean, so I'm trying to look at this from like a stock point of view for a moment here. From a stock point of view, as an investor in the company, if I'm an outsider and I'm like, I want to invest in this company, I'm looking at this going, so what you're saying is you pretty much don't have marketing expenses. I mean, you're giving people back caps, you're giving people stock, but that's subject to growth. So you're not out there doing. Are you not? I guess you're not doing like billboards or TV commercials or whatever. It's just organic.
No Super Bowl ads. No.
Really?
Again, a lot of our, most of our marketing is done through the agent base, right? So it's very agent centric, and we have some marketing, protocols and compliance, and you can't just run around and make wild claims and do things or to dilute the brand. Maybe we don't allow that, right? So there's definitely some control mechanisms, and we also have a sustainable a rev share platform where a certain percentage of the stock will, our sustainable revenue share is basically the company has a cap on how much they'll pay out at a certain time period. It's getting a little bit into the weeds here, and I don't want to misspeak, but we've corrected that ship, because that was kind of the knock against us for many years, is that we weren't profitable on paper. Even though our revenues were up, our growth was up, we had some challenges because we were hiring so fast. We had a lot of outstanding stock options. But now if you go back and look at our filings, I think we've turned profits for like the last year and a half or 2 years every quarter. So and again, if you look at the stock ticker and the agent count, they kind of do this, right? So if you think about what separates us from other publicly traded companies, we don't have to come out with a new iPhone every 6 months. We don't have to have a banner Christmas, Black, Friday season. We don't have to, do this or that or reinvent ourselves every couple years. I mean, we're strictly a real estate company that has agents that sell real estate. So the more agents, the more real estate they're going to sell, the more value of the company. I mean, I think somebody just said this morning that we did over 23 billion in real estate sales last year, completely dwarfing every other. We dwarfed Zillow. I mean, we dwarfed everybody. So,
how many agents?
Excuse me?
How many agents
do we have total?
Yeah.
I think we're over 45,000.
Okay.
So that's that's my calculus, right? I mean, so if we're trading at 160 or 150 or 140 or 130 at 45,000 agents, well, what are we going to be trading at when we're 100,000 agents? What are we going to be trading at when we're 500,000 agents global? So that's kind of my projection mentally. The other thing is Virbela is part of our EXP stock price. So our 3D platform, we bought that company a few years ago. So that company.
What's that?
So yeah, I mean, that is its own animal, right? I mean, we have all kinds of high profile clients. We had Dell Computer do their 9,000 person conference in our cloud office. We've got many, many high top level companies that now use our cloud office as their officing platform. And so Virbela, and then we just bought Success Media, Success Magazine. So now that is also part of EXPI, and we've got big plans for that too.
Wait, what's Virbela?
So Virbela is the cloud office. That's the 3D.
Okay. I thought it was like Matterport.
Yeah.
Like
what? Virbela is we call it EXP World, but that's for the EXP agents. It's also a platform that we can also white label to other companies.
Oh, so okay.
Yeah.
So you're okay. So when you go to the virtual office or whatever, you're like I mean, this isn't a slam. It's just you're like a cartoon or whatever.
It's like
and then everybody's got to.
Do you got kids, Kevin?
Oh yeah.
So I'm sure your kids play video games. I'm sure they play Minecraft and Fortnite, and I mean, my kids are in virtual worlds more than they're in the real world now, right? I mean, especially with the shutdown and COVID, and so it's the only way they get to even hang with their friends right now is in playing Fortnite and playing Minecraft. So it's literally like Sim City. It's like a total virtual world. You get an avatar. You go through the same sort of biorhythms. I mean, they've actually hooked people up to machines and checked their heart rate and their temperature when they're in virtual worlds, and your body goes through very similar experiences. Like if you're up in front of like 500 people doing a presentation, you feel it. Like you feel like you're doing a presentation versus being in like a Zoom call or something like this that's a little more two-dimensional or sort of one way here. It's very interactive, and it's team building. I have my own private team suite. I've got my staff in there. I've got multiple companies that we house out of my own private team suite now. So I've created almost like a strip mall of businesses inside my private team suites. And so when clients or agents come in, I go, well, you might want to go talk to my marketing and branding department, or you might want to go talk to my onboarding staff or whatever.
Wow. Got it. I mean, this is very, very fascinating and enlightening here. So how, I got to know this though. I mean, well, first of all, as a stock investor who is not part of your company, who doesn't get a 10% discount on the stock.
Yeah.
I look at this, I go, what it sounds like to me is, call it, the referral structure, call it a pyramid, call it whatever you want. To me, it sounds like it's real estate agents leaving companies probably like Keller Williams and Remax, going to a company that gives them two more sources of income, stock ownership and referral income from people they recruit, which is totally passive. Both of them are totally passive. So right. I'm jumping up and down on that idea as an agent already. But just me alone thinking about that, like that's exciting. I could see myself sharing that enthusiasm with others. Even if I weren't even trying to recruit anyone, I would share that enthusiasm with others. And then what you've actually done is you've created this self-sustaining business model where people just keep talking about it because they're building wealth passively while they're doing the stuff they would be doing anyway, selling real estate. And you really have this company that there's no reason. I mean, with 45,000 agents, I think we got like 2 million in the United States. you potentially are at the beginning of an exponential growth curve here.
Correct. Yeah, I would think, especially with the international factor, right? So we're now in 9 countries. We'll probably open up a couple countries a quarter now moving forward. Michael Valdez, who's like, the guy is unbelievable. To have him kind of in charge of our global EXP Global. He's the president of EXP Global. I don't know if there's a harder working guy in real estate right now than Michael. And
I'll have to talk to him.
Well, we actually, yeah, I'll set you up. I'll get you on the show. He's got his own podcast. You'll do his, he'll do yours. But Michael made a comment the other day in Clubhouse. He said he was talking to some owners in Mexico, and they said EXP is literally changing Mexico. The way they operate, it's changing. Someone said the same thing about the UK. There's talks about how do we bridge together all of these different companies in some sort of potential maybe a global MLS situation. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that's being, discussed, not corporately, but just between the agents, right? Like, what are we talking? This is like, so it's really an agent driven company. And we're just at the beginning. I mean, if you think about, let's just use the number 500,000 global.
Yeah.
I mean, we're only 10% of the way there.
Yeah, that's 10x. And I mean, I'm just looking here. So in the country, 2 million active licenses, but then you've got 1.3 million realtors. And usually I think when somebody's a realtor, they're probably much more likely to actually be active, right? Because anybody can have an active license.
They're paying their dues.
They're paying their dues. They're probably trying to actually sell stuff. At 45,000-ish or whatever y'all have, that's a drop in the bucket. I mean, do you know how many people RE/MAX and these other competitors have?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're the 4th or 3rd largest agent count. But I think the two of the 3 ahead of us are the conglomerates, right? So you have sort of the franchise conglomerates like Realogy and Home Services of America, and they own franchises. So we are the largest single owned real estate brokerage. All the ones that are bigger than us are all franchise owners.
Got it. That makes sense. Right. So they have different owners, and then it's like RE/MAX Suncoast, RE/MAX Blue Velvet, whatever. Right?
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, some of them have ERA, and they got 20 different brands underneath their umbrella. So we're all one company, one set of leadership, one office. And that's another really cool byproduct of this company is, I mean, I almost didn't even realize it until a few years ago, but like, I don't know of any other company in the world where every single member, staff, employee comes into one location every single day from all over the world. I mean, just think about the collaborative opportunities that spill out from that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, this is fascinating. So, really, I mean, like, here's another question then. How does this compare to Redfin? So Redfin's out there doing the, hey, we'll sell your house for 1.5%. We'll give you a kickback when you go to buy as a buyer or whatever. How is EXP competing against this sort of discounted salary-ish model? I think Compass does some salary stuff too.
Yeah. I'm not that familiar with their models. I mean, enough to, be somewhat dangerous, but I'm not intimately involved. But, it's funny. I mean, I think they just attract a different class of I mean, if you were looking for a salary, you're kind of a different animal. I mean, we're really looking for entrepreneurs, people who don't want to have a ceiling on their earnings. When I think about I'll even take this back to just shopping splits. I've been recruiting against, companies that offer 100% commission, right? And so a lot of people will say, well, I get to keep 100% commission. I said, well, okay, great. But, when I hear someone say, what's your split? What they're really asking me is, I only want to work so hard, right? I want to keep all of my money. I'm only going to do so many deals, and I don't want to give you. So it's almost like a scarcity mindset right there. And I'm sitting there going, you should really be asking, how much money can I possibly make? Not like how much are you going to take? It's like, how much can I make? And so I think of it as like, if you think about, I probably paid in, and I still sell houses, right? I mean, twist my arm, I'll do a couple $1 million deals here and there if I have to.
Sure.
But I probably paid like $13K into my cap last year out of the 16, right? I came close to capping, but But I think the company probably shared back with me $500,000 in revenue share, right? So what's my split, right? So I say, let's not compare splits. Let's compare W-2s. Let's look at how much money is actually making it into my bank account. And, let's look at net worths, because, I put mine up. And I'm not, and by the way, Kevin, I wasn't that good of a real estate. I mean, I was all right, but I was just a part of a better company. So I'll end up making more money than, well, some people are talking about selling 10 million. I'm talking about making 10 million.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Well, I mean, like, so as co-founder, I mean, can you say how many people you have like in your chain below you?
Yeah, I mean, well, I do. It's thousands, but I also was on corporate side for 6 years. So I was the president for 3 years. I was the chief culture officer for 3 years. So I was actually recruiting everybody but a lot of them went to other downlines. So once I started seeing, and again, I mean, listen, I was a busboy. I was a caddy. I left Chicago with all yeah. Were you? I left all my clothes. I threw all my clothes in literally a hefty cinch sack and jumped in my buddy's car in 2004 and was on unemployment and down and out, not feeling great physically, mentally, and got out to Arizona and started. I actually went to real estate school, and then I started looking at different job posts. And I think at one point I was checking my email at the public library, and I saw a Craigslist ad for someone looking for a team leader. And the one thing that stood out to me was they said, I've got a website that has leads and I need a team leader. And I said, well, I kind of had a commercial real estate background. I was selling ads to commercial brokers. So I thought, well, hey, I'm going to go into commercial. That's where the big dogs play.
That's where it's at.
And I ended up going to interview, and it ended up being Glenn Sanford. But, I was literally like, I was training to wait tables at Eddie V's, and I was borrowing money out of my roommate's change holder to buy Whoppers for lunch, and the best part about it was I hadn't even passed my real estate test, and Glenn hired me to be his team leader. So I don't know, I must have did a good interview or something, but it was really life-changing for me. And so that, and Glenn wasn't Glenn that he is now either. He's not, the $9 billion CEO of a $9 billion company. He was struggling just like I was. But he had an idea, he had a vision, and he had a plan, and I believed in it. And I said, this guy's really smart. I mean, I even used to say he's like the Paul Allen, the Steve Jobs of real estate back when we were, 20 agents, right? And so, but he's actually stepping into that. And, I just said, hey, I'm going to stick with this guy as far as I can, as long as he keeps me around. And it's worked out pretty good. But, I was just kind of his go, run through a brick wall guy. Whatever he asked me to do, I did it. And I'm happy I did.
Wow. I mean, that's such a cool story. So that's how you got started. And I mean, since then you could just add agents, you keep recruiting, and basically your passive income just continues to go up exponentially because you were a co-founder and you're basically there at the ground floor. Yeah,
but let me say this too, because a lot of people think, well, you were part of the first wave, and of course you made me, but it's too, like, the problem is
too late, right?
Yeah, it's too late. Like, that's the hardest objection to overcome. And I want to stress to anyone that's like thinking of this right now, you could join and be agent 100,001. Go bring in a few friends, and you're going to start earning lots of money in the revenue share. You start selling houses, you're going to earn stock. And literally, you didn't have to be part of those first couple waves to get market centers and get ownership and all this other stuff. Like, some of the top growth leaders in this company, like people that are making 6 figures a month, and some are even making close to 7 figures a month, they've only been with the company 5 years. They were not part of the first wave. And so they just got after it. They saw the opportunity. They hit it as hard as possible. And, they're riding the wave.
I mean, that's amazing. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, to me, it sounds like if you're an agent, I'm going to dive into this deeper, but as an agent, it sounds like you got 3 choices, 3 real choices almost. It's either you do your own thing, which means you got to get your broker license and set your business up and everything. You go like a salary direction, Or if you want to be the normal agent where you got your license, you want to have as much commission as possible, and you want to have as much passive income as possible, it doesn't seem to make sense to do anything other than go to EXP in these three choices here. Like, why would you go to another brokerage?
Why would you? I mean, you're just going to. So I used to do this on the back of a foggy window at Starbucks, but we created this slide that I call it the real estate career arc. And everybody kind of goes through 4 or 5 phases in their career arc. And you start off, everybody starts off in this business as an individual producer, right? They're doing everything. They're hand to mouth. And I don't care if you're doing 2 deals a year or 100 million. If you're going to all your own inspections, if you're putting all your contracts into the machine, you don't have a license, a TC or an assistant or something like that, you're an independent producer. And by the way, that's a very tenuous position. Take it from someone who fell off his mountain bike in 2011 and broke his hip in half. And I was a buyer agent. I was showing 50, 60 houses on a weekend. And all of a sudden now I can't get out of bed for 3 months. I broke the ball off my femur. And, that would have been devastating. And if you're just a 100% shop, 100% commission, sales agent, and something happens to you, kiss it goodbye. I mean, I don't care how good you are. If you're not getting up every day and doing the work, you don't have any safety net. So that really opened my eyes to the power of a passive income lifestyle when I broke my hip in 2011, because we were only about a year and a half in, and I was already making about 3-4K a month in revenue share. So saved my family, kept us alive. But I also say then, okay, so let's just take EXPI out of the equation. The smart agents that get sick of, trench warfare, they become team builders. So phase 2 is team builder. And you can be a team builder by adding an escrow agent or a buyer agent or whatever. But you got to be able to sort of provide, and you got to have some sort of business going on, because, if you can barely feed yourself, how are you going to support a team? Well, then the good team leaders go like this. Hey, we're the engine in this brokerage. Let's leave and go start our own brokerage. So now you become an office owner, right? So you're now a broker, office owner. And then the good ones go, hey, let's open up more offices. And then after a 25-year career and you did everything right and you made 0 mistakes, maybe you can retire and be an exponential earner. Or you can join EXP tomorrow, recruit 1 agent, get exponential income, be an owner day 2, right? So why wait 25 years to be an investor owner if you're lucky and do everything right and make 0 mistakes and have 0 market collapses while you're, imagine being a top agent in Manhattan right now, right? Like, and have all your eggs in one. And that's the other cool part about EXP is I draw income from 50 states and 8 countries. I mean, I can, listen, I'm life happens, but if you are only drawing money out of one market center, things can happen that it could really blow you out of the water. So just think about this stuff, folks. That's all.
Wow. No kidding. I mean, this is so insightful. That's interesting. So somebody here is asking, so can you make money just by recruiting agents without selling a single house?
Yes.
Good question. Wow.
100%. Yeah. Your ability to earn revenue share has nothing to do with how much sales you do. Now, it does affect the people in your downline though. So not me personally selling, but if people in my front line don't sell, well, then of course I don't make any money. So it does incentivize you. But absolutely, if you just wanted to be a growth leader and maybe you're sick of selling houses and you've got a ton of people in your Rolodex and you think that's a bigger opportunity for you, absolutely. And you aren't required to sell houses to enjoy revenue share.
Right. Wow. That's amazing. Well, golly, this has been really insightful. I mean, even just as an outsider looking in, and having been a real estate broker now for broker coming up on 9 years and agent for 10, coming on 11, I wish I had thought about this more in 15 and 16 when I was doing my 20 mil years, in sales, right?
You'd be spending 8 million in stock.
Stop. No, I love it. I deserve that.
I feel bad because I hear that 10 times a day, right? I mean, that breaks my heart. But here's what I say, listen, what's done is done. We all shoulda, coulda, woulda. But let's not keep making the same bad decision moving forward, right?
Oh, that's good. What a close. What a close. That was good. Well, thank you. So why don't you shout out how do people, if they if they want to join, how do they join? What do they got to do? Tell us how they would get in touch with either you or your team or whatever. What's the best thing to do?
Well, I would say, look, I put it in the text chat. It's brianculhane.exprealty.careers. I'm also just brian@exprealty.com if you want to send me an email or have any questions. And I'm proud of you, Kevin. I'm surprised you didn't even bring up Grant Cardone today. Maybe we'll save that for the next call. I thought that's what we were going to talk about the whole time, man. It's all around the industry. It's the big buzz.
Yeah, that's true. You know what? We'll save that for a part 2.
Part 2, done. Anytime.
Deal.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Hey, if you're here watching this and you've enjoyed this and if you learned something about EXP, consider sharing the video, consider subscribing, and we'll bring more people onto the podcast. Big shout out to Brian here, co-founder of EXP. Thank you for watching it, folks. We will see you in the next live stream or video. Thanks.
Bye, everybody. Peace.